Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Wednesday. Of course, from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Hope you have had a great start to your week. You made it to the halfway point. It's all downhill from here. All headed towards a Friday night matchup in the college football playoffs for Indiana and Notre Dame. And, of course, we'll be talking about that today. Excuse me, along with several other tidbits of information. How about Conor McGregor and Jake Paul? That apparently is going to happen. Michael Penix Jr. elevated to the starter for Atlanta in the NFL. Notre Dame, they must know a good idea when they see it. I noticed that they are providing rally towels this weekend. Hoosiers for Good will cease operations, and that's just a few of the things to talk about. Brian says, looking pretty good for Friday night. If you don't mind being cold, 21 degrees and wind 12. Yeah, it little. Hopefully, avoid the north of the lake effect. That would not be fun. But it's going to be it's going to be different than a lot of the other games. This will be the most, as far as the elements go, no one else will be dealing with something so severe. Pardon me there. How's everybody doing today? And a little wet outside today, at least in this part of the state of Indiana. Hope everyone's doing well, no matter where and how you're listening from. Our great affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, the Ref, always the right call down in Evansville. The voice of the region, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, WJOB up in Hammond and Chicago. And, of course, Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Just keep it locked right there on each of these stations. No reason to go anywhere else. Hope you are ready for the weekend, especially for those of you that are able to make the trip to South Bend. It is going to be a little chilly. But isn't that what they call football weather? Yeah, we'll find out. Who does that favor? I don't know that really it favors Notre Dame. I don't. When you get to that situation, I just don't know that it's going to make that much of a difference. Indiana put up 66 points in similar conditions against Purdue. So, yeah, I don't think that the weather is going to impact any of those teams any more than the other, and I don't think it favors any of the teams. Therefore, all things are the same still. It's just going to be an old-fashioned slobber knocker of a football game. And a little more special since this one has so much more on the line, being in the college football playoffs. And yesterday we met with several Indiana players. We'll hear from some of those, including quarterback Kurtis Rourke, linebacker Aiden Fisher, and Elijah Sarratt as well. The thing that just stands out when you talk to these guys, and especially when you talk to them in mass, they are all so well spoken. It is part of why I think not only that, they all talked about, and I've mentioned this before because it's something that I've seen, I've noticed, is the family atmosphere. I mean, they are truly, for a group that has come together in a short period of time, they are bonded as one. And got to give Curt Cignetti and crew credit for that. And I think that that is something that they will carry forward, because you'll have, well, there are going to be guys that leave from this team, obviously, after the end of the season. You've got guys like Elijah Sarratt, who will not be leaving, who will have, is one of the guys that came originally from James Madison. So he's what you would consider the old guard. But they will help spread the love, so to speak. It cracked me up. I happened to notice yesterday that Notre Dame's athletics director was making this big deal about they're handing out rally towels. What a novel idea. Man, I've never seen that before. I find that just funny because obviously Pittsburgh, the Steelers, the terrible towel was the originator, but you haven't really seen it much since then. Not a lot. And I don't recall seeing it anywhere this past season, except for in Memorial Stadium for Indiana. I find it just very ironic that their opponent is handing out rally towels. Now, if they had done that during the season, then I apologize. I don't cover Notre Dame normally, but I just found it funny. But not to be outdone, Indiana, the fans of Indiana, they have their own rally towels again. You can take them with you or pick them up. I saw that posted yesterday, so you can go by, I think, Assembly Hall and pick them up. I just found that to be, one of the little funny things. The battle of the towels. Yellow towels, white towels. A lot of people maybe use them to blow their nose in the weather. As cold as it's going to be. Hope everybody is having a great day. I'm looking forward to getting Dylan on here. Dylan Sinn will join us from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. And spoke to some people from Notre Dame television yesterday that were down for the pressers, and I asked them, what's the buzz up there? And they just simply said excited. There does seem to be a lot of excitement surrounding this. I mean, even with all that Notre Dame has accomplished, you have to realize they're hosting a playoff game. That's a first. They've never, ever done that. Few teams have. No team has. This is a first, period, for any football team to host a playoff game. And it's happening at Notre Dame Stadium, a place where they have never, ever, not one time, played a Friday football game. So all kinds of firsts going on here. And all kinds of firsts that could be. That's what makes it fun. Man, I'm jacked. I'm ready. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I think it's a hell of a matchup. I really do. I think it's going to be exciting. The fact it's taking place where it is adds to that mystique. And if Indiana could manage to get a win in that situation, well, that would just put the cherry right on top of that. It would be spectacular. I can't even go over the list of things that the benefits for Indiana simply by winning that game. So looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a fun one. I mentioned yesterday we spoke with several of the players. The day before, we heard from Brian Haynes and Mike Shanahan, Kurtis Rourke, Elijah Sarratt, two of the guys we spoke with yesterday on the offensive side. Speaking of the excitement, Elijah Sarratt sees it. We'll hear from him, and then we'll head to break. When we come back from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios, Dylan Sinn will be with us. Here's Elijah Sarratt, wide receiver for the Indiana Hoosiers.
It has been decades since Indiana and Notre Dame have played one another, whether it's in the building or out in the campus and in the community. Do you sense an excitement about renewing the rivalry regardless of the stage and the stakes that this game carries?
Yeah, I see it every day. I need to get off of Twitter. I see it a little too much. But now I understand the importance to everyone who's involved with both programs, and I'm just excited to be able to play in this game. Who knows the next time we're going to be able to play, and just want to go out there and compete for the fans and do my best,
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Morale in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Wednesday. It's game week in the college football playoffs. Indiana at Notre Dame, amongst others, but this will kick it off. The first ever game in the college football playoffs coming this Friday night at 8 o'clock from historic Notre Dame Stadium. I'm sure there'll be a lot of betting going on, and I bring that up because NCAA President Charles Baker and National Football League Players Association representative urged Congress to rein in the sports betting industry at a Senate hearing Tuesday, calling for federal legislation to combat gambling addiction and abuse of athletes. I'm like, how the hell are you going to rein that in? But at the hearing, Baker and NFLPA Representative Johnson Batamosi, who played for Stanford and spent 9 seasons in the NFL, spoke about the increasing harassment athletes face from bettors in the stands and on social media. Batamosi noted the insidious effect that sports betting has had on the mental health of players and fans. He mentioned a Buffalo Bills player who received death threats earlier this year because he missed a field goal, and as well as a Minnesota Vikings player who deleted his social media because he received so much harassment about fantasy football. First of all, if you're harassing people over fantasy football, you're an idiot. But you don't need me to tell you that because you're already an idiot. But no segue there as I bring in Dylan Sinn. Boy, you joined at the wrong time. Boy, I couldn't make a segue off of calling somebody an idiot, Dylan. But I was talking about the desire for the NCAA and the NFL Players Association to rein in betting. And I'm like, well, how do you do that? I mean, that toothpaste is out of the tube. I mean, you can punish people if they do stuff, but they should already be punished for that stuff anyway. So craziness. But man, speaking of betting, I'm sure there will be a lot of betting on this game this weekend. Is Indiana still a 7.5 point underdog? Because if it is, I think that's a hell of a. I think that's a great number for Indiana for someone to take. I like that number.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was what it was the last time I saw it. I do think that it's a good number for Indiana. I think that there's a good chance that they cover. I mean, I'm of the opinion there's a good chance they win the game outright. So
right, that's my thinking. I think this is a tremendous matchup, Dylan.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. I think it's going to be a very, very good game. Like that has been what I've been telling people, is that not only is this a really fun matchup that was created by the committee, but also I think it's just a really good football game. Right? Like I think these are two relatively evenly matched teams whose strengths and weaknesses really match up well in a way that's going to give us a really fun football game.
If you took off the names, I would say, oh wow, this should be a fun game. You've got a top running team against the top run defense team, and the run defense team also has a pretty damn good offense. So it's Notre Dame, and Team A has a really good secondary against a really good throwing team. I think it's going to be very intriguing. The ultimate matchup to me comes down to the guys down in the trenches. Indiana's offensive line against Notre Dame's defensive line. I don't think that Notre Dame's defensive line is as strong as, say, Ohio State, Michigan, teams that Indiana has faced. I think they learned from those mistakes anyway. And now if you can not only learn from those, but be a little more successful against that line, that bodes well for the Hoosiers.
Yeah, I think that is the key to the game, in my opinion, is can you keep Kurtis Rourke upright? Yeah. I think that Notre Dame's defensive line has been decent this year. I think a big thing for them is they're getting their All-American defensive tackle, Howard Cross, back from injury. He missed the last 3 games of the season with a high ankle sprain. He's back now. So I think that's huge for Notre Dame. I do think I was a little bit concerned with what happened for IU, ironically, in the Purdue game, where they gave up a couple of sacks early in that game too. I'm a little bit worried that they didn't quite fix all of the problems from those games against Ohio State and Michigan. I was encouraged that after those couple of early sacks against Purdue, Purdue didn't get anything else the rest of the game. Obviously, Purdue is a very poor team. I don't think that really tells you much, but it does show that they can adjust in the middle of the games. That was good to see. I think that is the number one thing that I'm looking to see. I think we might know pretty early in this game whether Indiana is going to be able to have a lot of success on offense, because if Notre Dame was able to get pressure right away, I think Indiana is going to be in some trouble, and you're going to have to rely on your defense to get 1, 2, 3 turnovers to win this game. If Notre Dame is stonewalled early, if Indiana has figured out a way to keep them off of Rourke and just give him a chance to complete the 8, 9, 10-yard RPOs that have been the staple of their offense this year, then I think you're cooking a little bit. I think that you can do what you did early on against Ohio State, move the ball down the field in short chunks and just keep the defense on its heels. Because remember, Indiana was able to do that against Ohio State early on. They were able to do it against Michigan in the first half, not the second half. So they've been able to do it against these good lines. It's just when it starts to snowball on them, it's been hard to get it back. It's been hard to get that rhythm back. And so I think that's going to be the key is I think the first quarter of this game is going to be really important because Notre Dame wants to punch everyone in the mouth. That's been their whole thing. Since they lost to NIU, every game the rest of the season, their whole thing has been punch them in the mouth right away. Don't let them get off the mat, right? And it's worked for them. Indiana has to avoid it. Indiana has to avoid going down 7-14-0 in this game because Notre Dame is not going to let you come back in that scenario.
Yeah, I don't know that this defense is good enough and has played well enough in 12 games that I don't see that happening. I'm not saying that Notre Dame does not have a decent offense because obviously they're the third highest scoring team in the country somehow. Now, part of that is because, to be honest with you, that would be disingenuous to talk about their schedule because it's no different than Indiana's, but they're not as balanced, I guess, offensively. They're more of a running team, but they score a lot of points for not being a throwing team.
Yeah, I think part of that is they get really good field position. Their defense has been really good at giving them field position this year. And then on top of that, their coaching staff has been really good at picking spots to steal possessions, right? And I think Indiana's coaching staff has been really good at this too. Notre Dame goes for it on fourth down a lot. They run fake punts and do different trick plays a lot because they want to steal possessions. That's how they feel like they've been able to win some of these games, not because they're not more physically talented, because they have been at most of the season. But in addition to that, they are going and taking extra possessions. They're holding on to the ball when a lot of other teams would give it up, but they're also taking risks to do that, right? Indiana's done the same thing this year. They go for it on fourth down a lot. And so I do think that some of those fourth down plays are going to be really, really important for both sides. I think the game could eventually come down to maybe 4, 5, 6 fourth down attempts in this game on both sides. So I think that's really interesting. Notre Dame's offense, you're right, is not as balanced as IU's. Their passing game is not quite as good. I do think an X factor in this game is their tight end, Mitchell Evans, who was hurt. He tore his ACL in 2023. He was on his way to an All-American season. And then he came back this year at the beginning of the season. It wasn't entirely healthy. He was kind of working his way back from that injury. But the last couple of games, he's really emerged as a true threat in the passing game for them. I think they're going to try to find him a lot in this game. So Jalen Walker and Aiden Fisher and Amari Farrell in coverage are going to have to do a really good job on him. I think for Indiana, that's going to be a key, is don't let their passing game get going. Don't let Mitchell Evans take over this game, because if the passing game gets going for Notre Dame, then they're just going to be able to rip off runs in chunks, and you're going to be in trouble. So I think Indiana's linebackers and safeties are going to have to do a really good job in coverage against him and be strong, because he is a very, very strong player at the catch point. He had a touchdown against USC where he just stole the ball away from a defender, basically. So you have to be really, really strong if you're IU.
Pecan, some comments on the Andy Moore Honda hotline, concerns about Indiana's offensive line. I don't know why. They're not playing Ohio State. Notre Dame, their defensive front is not Ohio State. It's not Michigan. They are not, I'm not saying they're terrible, but they're not great. They're solid, but they're not great. You're going to have to do your job, but the ability to do your job is going to be there. I'm pretty confident about that. I've watched a lot of Notre Dame's in the interim and talked to a lot of people, and I don't think that the offensive line is going to be that big of an issue. I think adjustments will be an issue. You have to make sure you adjust to what Notre Dame is doing, because they're obviously going to try to do whatever they can, throw some things at you, disguise a lot of things. That the adjustments is what are important.
I do think, to be clear, I think Notre Dame's defensive tackles are really good. The interior with Howard Cross and Riley Mills, both of those guys are fifth year, sixth year guys who have been really, really good for the last couple of seasons. They are on the level of the defensive tackles at Michigan and Ohio State. It's the edge rushers where Notre Dame is not quite as good. They've had some injuries there, and they weren't particularly good to begin with. So you can do some damage if you're able to contain the middle. Of course, that's been the problem for Indiana, right? That's where they had their injury to Drew Evans. So Mike Kadick in the middle is going to have to do a really good job of getting him and the guards aligned. And I do think that Notre Dame likes to bring blitzes with their linebackers. Drake Bowen, the Indiana Mr. Football in 2022, who plays linebacker for Notre Dame, he is really good in the blitz. He's really athletic, he's really fast, and he hits really hard. So I think that Notre Dame is maybe going to try to do some of that early, where they try to confuse Indiana's interior line. That's where you said adjustments. They're going to try to confuse Indiana's interior line with some blitzes, with some stunts. Bring Drake Bowen, bring Jack Kaiser. They have two Indiana Mr. Footballs in their linebacker core, which is pretty funny. Bring those guys on blitzes and see if you can get Indiana off balance. You're probably not, like you said, you're probably not going to overpower them like Michigan and Ohio State did, but you can confuse them if they're not on their P's and Q's. And so I do think that that's going to be the strategy early. See if you can get Rourke a little bit tense and see what happens from there. And if Indiana can pick it up, I think the running backs in this game, we've seen it before. Indiana's running backs are very good at blitz pickups, generally speaking. Justice Ellison especially has been extremely physical in that role. I think we're going to have to see that in this game in order for Kurtis Rourke to have some time to throw. And if he does, then you feel like you're in a pretty good spot if you're Indiana.
The one thing I think Indiana has to do, Mike Shanahan has to have prepared an offensive scheme that is ready for shorter passes, quicker. 3-step drops, not five, not everything being a 5-step drop. You've got to be able to anticipate these blitzes and either pick them up or combat them. This is where Kurtis Rourke is going to have to call out and check out if he's able to see it. But sometimes, a lot of times they disguise that and you don't. But they have to have their plays ready to where they can combat those blitzes, because they're going to look at the Ohio State film and see that was successful. Now, part of that was because IU was on a silent count, and that allowed Ohio State to start timing the snap, because Indiana did not make that adjustment. I don't think they make that mistake again.
No.
So that'll be huge.
I did enjoy Kurt Signetti coming out and saying, "I will never use a silent count again." It was the direct quote.
Yes.
After I thought that was pretty good. I do think you're exactly right in that you need to have something schemed up for that interior pressure. I thought it was interesting that Shanahan said he was asked about the return of Howard Cross, the All-American defensive tackle, and he said basically, you do some things where you're not going to run right at him. Maybe you're going to run around to the edge and see if you can get on the edge, which is tough because Notre Dame has a good linebacker core. But I do think that's probably the best strategy. And then, as you said, some short passes. I do think if you can protect Rourke, that's the key for Indiana, because there are going to be opportunities for long passes too. Like if you can keep him upright, if you can give him time, there are going to be opportunities down the field for long throws. Because as we saw against USC, Notre Dame is a little bit susceptible to that. Their cornerbacks they've been hit or miss. They're young. They have a true sophomore and a true freshman starting at corner, and Benjamin Morrison, their All-American corner, is out for the season with injury. So,
but they've been so good in the secondary.
They have, but Christian Gray, the true sophomore, has been beatable. He was beatable against USC. He was beatable against Louisville. And those are the two best passing offenses that Notre Dame has faced. You're right. They've been overall very, very good in the secondary, but explosiveness, they've been only okay at passing game explosiveness.
I don't think, but they've also not faced an offense like they're going to face in Indiana.
I think that
is Kurtis Rourke is unflappable.
Right.
Even when he's at Ohio State, it wasn't because he was losing his marbles. He just stays within himself. But that creates a lot of problems for Notre Dame, I think, because they play a lot of man. And if you're going to play man all day long against Elijah Sarratt and Omar Cooper and Miles Cross and all these guys, I got news for you. There are going to be some openings. Now, you have to hit on those. That's the thing. When those opportunities come, you have to seize them and not just miss them, not overthrow, not underthrow, not throw a pick. So those opportunities will be there without question. Stephen, I'm going to make sure I comment on his comments because we usually agree on nothing. But we absolutely agree. He said that even if Indiana loses, it's been an amazing season. That's an understatement. Yeah. It's been more than an amazing season already. You are correct. But if they win, and I see this as at worst a 50-50 shot for Indiana, and that's because it's on the road. If it was not on the road, I would put this at 60-40 Indiana, in my honest opinion, on paper. Not from any other, just on paper. I think that Indiana has been tried a little bit more. They played Michigan. They played Ohio State. They've just been tested a little more, I think. Notre Dame was tested by Texas A&M, and they won. They were tested by Northern Illinois, and they didn't. What the hell happened in that game? Just for a second, we've got to go back. What in the hell? How do you lose to a team that will lose to Ball State?
Yeah. So here's what happened in that game. First of all, Northern Illinois had an explosive right at the beginning of the game. They 87-yard touchdown pass where Notre Dame just blew a coverage in the secondary, and that kind of got things started. And then my contention has been that Riley Leonard, their quarterback, was hurt in that game. He took a really big hit in the second quarter and was down in the field for a little bit. And he stayed in the game, but they did not run him a single time after the middle of the second quarter. And obviously, as we've heard for the last week and a half, Riley Leonard in the run game is a big part of what they do. And so they were not able to move the ball on the ground because he wasn't running the ball, and Northern Illinois keyed in on their running backs. And then Riley Leonard was not able to do what he needed to do in the pass game for them to win. Possibly, in my opinion, because he was hurt. And so he threw they took the lead in the second half, and then they were driving to try to kind of put the game away. And he threw a really, really poor interception where he underthrew it by 10, 15 yards, just a terrible throw on a deep shot. And that kind of set up the win for Northern Illinois. It was a really weird game where everything that had to go right for NIU did, and Notre Dame just didn't respond the way they wanted to. And I actually have a story in the paper today that they've talked about how it was the best thing that happened to them because they didn't prepare the right way. They said they didn't respond to adversity.
Losing
the right way.
to a Northern Illinois team at home is never the best thing that happens to you. Maybe almost losing to a Northern Illinois team would be the best thing, but when you actually lose, that's just a nice way of trying to make some cherries out of rotten cherries.
Sure. But that is what they've said basically because it helped them realize, hey, this is what happened. This is where we went wrong. And they have not had those problems again the rest of the season. And so that's how basically they feel like they won these 10 games in a row in part because they lost that one to NIU. That's what they have said. That is the line coming from Notre Dame camp. And so I do think that it was an anomaly of that game. I do think that they've played much better since then. I think part of it was Leonard being hurt, just straight up. And they have not said that publicly. They said he was fully healthy. I just straight up don't believe them. I'm not going to lie to you.
I love Brian's comment. Says if we're leaving it up to God, well, they've got Jesus. So yeah, that's kind of funny. I have to admit. Pecan Pie off the Andy Moore Honda hotline says, and this is something that Kurt Signetti brought up in his presser. Yeah, they are good. They blocked 3 punts this year. So Indiana has not had one blocked this season, but they have got to be wary of that. And Indiana's punt team has not been an issue all year long. Someone else said they were concerned about it. And I'm like, they made a mistake in the Ohio State game. And I think a big part of that was the noise. That's what Indiana's claiming. So I'm like, okay, they hadn't made that kind of a mistake. So I'm going to buy that. I'm talking about the muffed snap that the punter dropped. Obviously, I think that the noise must have gotten into his head. And then the punt that got returned for the touchdown, that was, again, I wonder, did the noise rattle him? Because Cignetti says that ball went to the wrong side. It was supposed to go right. The coverage was set up to go right, and it went left. And if you've ever played the game, you know that if you either outkick your coverage or kick the wrong way to your coverage, you're kind of screwed, because in a punt team, the punt returning team tries to set up a wall, and they want to go in one direction as well. But when you kick the ball in a direction that your coverage is not in, well, that leaves a whole bunch of holes is what it does. And now guys have got to run and just all kinds of, there's no continuity to the defending of it. And there was none, and it just left a wide open field to run through for Ohio State. I'm sure that they have worked on every bit of that down to the every detail, Dylan.
Yeah, I think that it was almost certainly a priority for them going into this game. They know that Notre Dame has blocked several punts. Notre Dame is coming after a lot of punts. And Notre Dame's return game has not been particularly explosive this year. So it's not a question of can you contain the return game, really. It's more about preventing the punt block. So I do think that that's a key for Indiana. I think that Indiana will also probably try something tricky on special teams. I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. They ran that fake punt against Purdue, not to rub it in Purdue's face, but to put that on film, right? So it's giving Notre Dame something to think about when they decide, okay, we're going to send all 10 guys except the punt returner to try to block the punt. Okay, well, we just had Indiana run a fake punt and do really well in getting downfield and gaining 20 yards, right, with James Carpenter. So I do think that that's something that Indiana did that was really smart, that said basically, hey, let's see what we can do to try to get them off balance a little bit and maybe not have them put as much pressure on the punter because they're worried about a fake. I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana ran a fake, but even if they
I was just getting ready to say that is something we have not seen all year, Dylan.
Yeah.
And we have seen Curt Cignetti, and you mentioned it a minute ago, has gone for it a lot on fourth down. It doesn't matter to him.
No.
I'm surprised not one time have we seen a fake punt, because I have seen a few this year by multiple teams.
Notre Dame ran one against USC,
and they were successful.
Yeah.
It's been funny. I think the majority of fake punts I've seen this year by different teams, the majority of them have been successful, because you've got to do it at a time when they're not expecting it. Just like an onside kick. I think scoring an early touchdown and following that up with an onside kick, that would be ballsy but dangerous. Ballsy but dangerous. Hey, we've got lots more coming up. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette with us as always. How are things up in Fort Wayne? Is it raining today, by the way?
It is gray and cold, but not raining right now. We'll see if that changes.
Yeah, we're getting a little precipitation further down the state in what I call South Central Indiana. But we've got lots more coming up. Before we do that, we'll hear from Elijah Sarratt. And then we'll head to a break from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios, where we'll return. Elijah, asked him about yesterday when we met with him. I asked that, this team has played with a chip on their shoulder all year, every one of them. All these P5 guys, or not even P5 guys. They're actually, there is no P5, it's P4. But these were all these mid-level guys that came in, the guys that no one else wanted, have come together, and they have formed this incredible story, this incredible team. Curt Cignetti fits right into that. He's a mid-level guy. And I think it's amazing. It's the greatest story that college football has had in a long time, if not one of the greatest stories ever. But Elijah Sarratt, he still has that chip.
Elijah, this whole team has played with a chip on their shoulder all year long, proving that they are worthy of any opponent, any place. will you go to Notre Dame with that same chip, or now with just the sheer confidence of, hey, we're supposed to be here, we're supposed to be playing in this game?
Yeah, we know we're supposed to be here. We know we belong, but we're always gonna have that chip. We remember what everyone was saying about us before the season. Remember what everyone was saying during the season. Remember what everyone's saying now. But we're all we need. We're gonna go down there, just focus on us, and try to handle business. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Elijah.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's C-O-Y-L-E, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this wet Wednesday. At least if you're down this way, a little precipitation, nothing major. I'm not going to complain, man. It's deep into December, and last few days were pretty mild. The weather this Friday, Dylan, is expected to be a little chilly. But you know what? Again, it's mid-December, and we're going to be up near the North Pole. So it's not going to be as bad as I think that it could have been. The temperatures, and this is actually going to be pretty similar to what Indiana played in against Purdue.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think that the fact that it's the Friday game changes things a little bit because it's supposed to be much colder on Saturday. Like the Ohio State-Tennessee game in Columbus is going to be extremely cold. And that's Saturday night. But Friday night, I think IU is actually okay. There might be a little bit of snow. I think that's kind of in the forecast. There's some precipitation in the forecast. Whether it ends up being rain or snow is up for debate right now. But
snow would be better than rain, to be honest with you.
I think so. Yeah, I think Indiana played in it a little bit against Purdue, and they did just fine. I thought actually the conditions in that Purdue game. I thought the shout out to the field crew at Memorial Stadium who did a good job of making sure that field looked okay.
hey
and
man,
performed
little
okay.
shades of New England Patriots. The Indiana guys, they were out there with their leaf blowers clearing off the yard lines
The yard
and
lines.
the hashes. I was waiting for someone to come out there. I was waiting for someone to have to kick a field goal and for someone to run out there along the hash and then jet around for the placement, but didn't need that. But
That's
yeah,
right.
it was. And actually, the guys talked about the snow yesterday. They said, "Oh yeah, I thought it was cool looking." It had no effect on them. It wasn't enough to really to have an effect. I mean, it's cold, and that's it. As a matter of fact, Elijah Sarratt talked about that yesterday a little bit. Said he's got some tricks, Vaseline, which a lot of people use. You put Vaseline on your hands, face, and now obviously a receiver does not want Vaseline on his hands, but I don't know if he puts those on his hands at all or if he puts them on his hands before he puts his gloves on. Personally, I would not want Vaseline anywhere near my hands, but that is a great trick for staying warm, especially when you have the wind blowing.
Yeah, it certainly seemed like it didn't bother Indiana when they played Purdue. And the footing was good. They didn't seem to be slipping all around. They were able to move and move the ball up and down the field. So I do think that they handled it pretty well there. I don't think there's going to be much of an advantage to be gained for Notre Dame by the snow or the cold, as much as they probably could have had against a team like a Tennessee or against an SMU or something like that if it had shaken out a little bit differently. So I do think that that's an advantage for Indiana, is that this is not a team that is going to be intimidated by the cold. And I think so that kind of it neutralizes something that Notre Dame could have had, I think. And that's something that Notre Dame has kind of talked about. Well, we would have rather played a team from the South. They would have been more bothered by it, but we still have the home field advantage.
Now, I could sit here and talk about the advantage that Notre Dame does have by having a home game, but it's pointless. But I will say it just one last time, that's the one thing that I don't like about. I don't have a problem with the home games. I think they're kind of cool. To be honest with you, I think it's cool that Indiana is going to be playing this game in South Bend at Notre Dame Stadium. They have an opportunity to do something that Indiana hasn't done in 125 years, people. Of course, they've done a lot of that this season. So this would be one more, and that would be to win in South Bend. That has not happened. I guess it's only happened once.
Yeah.
The first time that these teams played in 1898, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
But this is different. This is a different era. And I am truly jacked about this. Normally I have a good feeling of what I think about the game as far as win, lose, this, that. Buddy, this is right down the line. I'm telling you, I think it's a tremendous matchup. And as you mentioned before, all the other things that go with this just make it all that much more better. Two teams that haven't played that probably should have played, but I get why they haven't, because Indiana has sucked. I mean, at least Purdue has had their ups along with their downs. That's why I guess Notre Dame schedules them. Plus, they're a little closer. Bloomington is just, it's kind of out of, but when you're talking South Bend, Indiana, and Bloomington, it's almost like it's two different states.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there is a significant gap there. And to Notre Dame's credit, they did schedule Indiana in the late 40s and 50s when Indiana was coming off one of its best seasons ever in 1945. Notre Dame was like, all right, let's get them on the schedule, right? They played them, I think, 7 or 8 times between 1945 and 1960. And then they won like 6 in a row, or I think 5 in a row Notre Dame did, by about 5 touchdowns on average. And we're like, all right, let's not do that anymore. That's not helping us, And so then they played one more time in 1991, which was kind of a scheduling fluke. They both had a game open, and they decided, all right, let's play. Notre Dame won that one. I think it was 49-27. But I actually do have a story in the Journal-Gazette today about the last time Indiana beat Notre Dame, which was 1950 in Bloomington. And they won 20-7 in that game. They held Notre Dame to just 93 rushing yards. A really good Notre Dame offense. Only gained 93 rushing yards. Notre Dame was coming off 3 national championships in 4 years. They had won 39. They had been unbeaten over 39 games. And then they lost to Purdue. And 2 weeks later, they lost to Indiana. So kind of interesting history there. And Indiana hoping to kind of recapture that energy and that glory against the Irish on Friday.
I think that is a great little tidbit to find. It's this Indiana defense is for real. They've done this against everybody they've played. They are not only are they number one in the country against the run. It's not like the second place team is like right there. There's a space. There is a gap between 1 and 2 on this, people. I mean, Indiana has done, and I'm talking about against Ohio State, against a Michigan team that's all that they had was the run.
Yeah.
But Ohio State's offense is probably a better running team than they are a passing team. I don't know. Will Howard's I think he's a solid quarterback, but he's not a great quarterback. He is,
He's fine. He's fine.
It's fine. But Indiana had the leading rusher in the Ohio State game. They almost had 2 leading rushers in that game. So that's what gives me the thought that, man, I think Indiana is in a great position to win this game because I think that they will have learned. I think Curt Cignetti will have learned from the mistakes that happened at Ohio State. I think that he was surprised. I think that he was a little shocked by the crowd noise because I'm a little shocked that they were, I hate to use the words ill-prepared, but they were ill-prepared for that. And I'm like, dude, you're going into Ohio State, 102,000 people. What the hell do you think it was going to be? Like church?
Yeah.
It's going to be loud. They predicate everything they do on the noise. Notre Dame's not going to be that way. Notre Dame's a little more church, more church-like. I'm not going to say it's quiet, but it's not Ohio State. It's not Michigan.
Yeah. Here's what I will say is Notre Dame has done a good job the last couple of years of really boosting their environment. I think that it's louder than it used to be. You're right. It is not Michigan and it's not Ohio State, but it's louder than it used to be. So I think that that's one thing that Indiana fans should know, because I think that there is a stereotype of Notre Dame fans at Notre Dame home games as kind of a more staid environment. That's not really the case anymore. They didn't want that to be the case, and so they've done a good job the last couple of years of really trying to change that, and it has worked to a certain extent. It's louder there than it used to be. But I do think it's not quite as loud as Ohio State. I think that is a good point. I also think that in terms of the run game, that's why I'm so fascinated by this matchup, because Indiana has not faced a run game as good as Notre Dame's. Notre Dame is maybe the best rushing attack in the country between Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, who are 2 of the best running backs in the country, 2 of the top 10 running backs, I think, in the country. And then you add Riley Leonard on top of that. They're really, really good. And they have not been slowed down by basically anyone this season. But they have also not faced a rushing defense like Indiana. I think that is what makes this game so intriguing to me, especially on that side of the ball when Notre Dame has the ball, is that neither team has faced an offense or a defense the caliber of the other. I think that to me is what makes this so interesting, is you're going to see, okay, these teams are going to level up, right? Notre Dame is not seeing a defense that can slow down the run like Indiana can. They haven't seen linebackers like Aiden Fisher and Jalen Walker who are not going to let you get the edge, right? And Indiana has not seen running backs like Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. They just haven't. Khalil Mullings is great at Michigan. He's not Jeremiah Love. Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins at Ohio State, they're great. They're not Jeremiah Love and they're not Jadarian Price. So I do think that is a huge, huge kind of like, again, we're going to know pretty early in this game who is up for this one. And that's what makes it really exciting for me.
Can't wait, brother. And I'll see you up in South Bend on Friday night.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
First football game in the history of Notre Dame Stadium, at least college game. I'm sure they played some high school games in there, but can't wait, brother. Dylan Sinn, I cannot appreciate you so much from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette.
Absolutely, Jim. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to seeing you on Friday.
Can't wait, buddy. Thank you. Dylan Sinn joining us as always here on this Wednesday from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. More coming up from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. We're back with it right after this break. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Ball Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fisher. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Ball Road in Bloomington. Hungry for something a little different? Well, head to the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm with a Cajun flair, like their loaded voodoo fries, gator bites, or jambalaya, and so much more. The Rusty Gator also has live music each Friday and Saturday night with some of the best local and regional artists around. Visit the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford and get your Cajun on. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios, and it's been too long, but he has arrived. Kevin Brockway, otherwise known as K-Bro. How's it going, brother?
Oh my goodness, that graphic is just killing me.
I love it.
It's good to be here. I'm in one of your favorite cities. I'm in Tampa this week for the Gasparilla Bowl. So,
oh wow,
yeah, you're
I'm jealous. Go have a cigar for me first of all.
Yeah, exactly. Haven't gotten to the cigar bar yet, but hopefully will. But
and then what's my other favorite place there on top of the bay there?
The favorite
it's a bar restaurant, but they have this beach, little side beach that just snuggles right up to the bay, and they've got all these little what do you call those stupid Adirondack chairs? Those
big chairs and stuff and everything.
Yeah, well, boy, I had some time off a few years ago and went down there for like a week and just camped out right there with a bag full of cigars and just a book, and loved it. But no Florida for me this year, unfortunately. But that's cool because it's some fun things going on. Maybe some New Orleans in the picture, though. We don't know. This Friday night's game will determine that. We'll get to that. Florida, big win over North Carolina last night. North Carolina's on the schneid right now.
Yeah, no, that was and it was a good game for the Gators because, they had really rolled through their first 10 opponents, beating them all by double figures. So to have a little adversity, they were down, 81-77 with 4 minutes to go. They had that big lead in the first half. They were up 17. They kind of let that slide, turned the ball over, 17 turnovers. But figured out a way in the last 4 minutes. And certainly, they've got some physicality on the front line. This kid, Thomas Houck, who's a sophomore, he came up with a big rebound late in that game. He's just getting better and better and developing. Certainly, Alex Condon as well. And Elijah Martin, the FAU transfer, made some big shots. Will Richard had a big putback as well in the final minute. So It's kind of crazy. They're 11-0. They're number 6 in the country. And in what kind of crazy parallel universe would Florida be a basketball school now and Indiana be a football school, right?
I'm hearing you, and a great turnaround, but it wasn't a great turnaround by Florida. They were good last year in the tournament and whatnot, but the SEC is currently dominating the AP Top 25 poll. That doesn't mean that that's how everything is. But there's obviously they have a lot of really good teams. Now Tennessee at the top, I do not absolutely believe that they're the number 1 team in the country. Their only loss, if you want to be honest, it came not in the regular season, in the preseason, to Indiana at home, ironically. Auburn, man, they are looking really, really good under Bruce Pearl, but they had a bad deal happen as Johnny Broome, their star, scoring 20 points a game. He had a shoulder injury, left the game, and they've got a big game with Purdue coming up this weekend.
Yeah, no question. And, I think that's, you've got 12 in the net, top 50 right now in the SEC. Georgia even has this freshman, Asa Newell, that's a really nice player, kid from Montverde Academy, which certainly, Indiana fans are familiar with from the Hood Schifino days.
He was teammates with Asa Newell was teammates with Liam McNeely and Derek Queen.
Yeah. And so this kid, Asa Newell,
is Cooper Flagg
is a really nice player. And there's good players all around the league. And I've always thought with the SEC, comparing it to, say, the Big Ten, SEC is a very athletic conference. But the skill level was always kind of lacking a little bit, shooting fundamentals, so forth, things like that. That the Big Ten had. But I think you're seeing better and better players from the Northeast, from all around the country, coming to the SEC, and that skill level is rising to go with the athleticism. And right now, with the NIL game and the money that comes in from football and the money that they've spent on some big-name coaches, the league right now is really, compared to a decade ago when I covered it regularly, is really transformed itself into a power league, into one of the better leagues. But still no national titles as Kentucky in 2012, and then Florida had the back-to-back in 06 and 07. So I think that's the next step for the league. They're having such a great year, but it would be nice to see them kind of break that schneid and have a team hoist a trophy at the end of the year.
Yeah, Florida has their version of Taco Fall, extreme big. They've got a 7'9" dude, but is he redshirting? What is I can't remember.
Yeah, he's a redshirt. Yeah, so he's a project.
Olivier. And it's hard to imagine someone at 7'9" being a project. So I'm like going, give me a 7'9" body, and I won't be a project. I'll learn how to do something valuable enough to put me on the floor, even if it's just blocking a shot.
He went to IMG Academy in Bradenton, which of course, Zach Edey went there. So people have already, wondered or made it, but this kid is far from Zach Edey at this point. He still has a lot of room to grow as a player. So they're going to take their time with him, and I think that's probably the smart move because, I think Todd Golden said, hey, maybe a year from now, we might be excited to see what he can become. He could have probably played right away at a school. I think,
look how much you've been missed, by the way.
They're very nice. Yeah. I think UC Irvine offered him a scholarship, and he could have probably played at that level. But, there's a lot that he has to, in terms of, lateral quickness, getting up and down the floor, things of that nature, that he has to adapt to in the Power 5 conference level to be ready to get on the court. And that's why he is where he is right now, but they're definitely going to work with him and hope to get him on the floor next year.
It'll be something. Now, the one thing I will say about this, I hated the fact that Zach Edey was along because it changed the game to me in an unrealistic manner because he's a freak of nature. And you look at Purdue now, and they are I'm not going to say very ordinary, but they are above average, but that's all that they are. They're above average. They're not great. They're not elite. And just like I and a lot of other people surmised, you take that away, well, that puts pressure on all these other parts now. And not that they're not winning. They have won, but they are also very susceptible. Probably should have lost Ole Miss, but they are a normal team again. And someone like that just changes everything. And, you know, I just think it's too far outside of the realms of the normal game.
But you got to give Matt Painter, you know, credit for identifying him and developing him at the same time. You know, and that's listen, hey, what's going on in Indiana right now in terms of, you know, they got too much talent on that team to be this mediocre.
Oh my God, you had to bring that up. It was such a fun show. It was going so well. And then we had to go and talk about basketball seriously during college football week. Yeah, I've resigned myself to the fact that I'm not going to beat on this dead horse all year long because it is what it is. And if people can't see that, then, you know, I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and be the person that has to. I've been down that road, got the T-shirt with the lashes on it during the little roadie era. You know, for 2 years, it was a daily thing to just beat on him every day because he sucked. He was terrible. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I felt like I had to take a shower after every show. It was just not fun. And beating on that team would not be fun. That's a situation. When I say it is what it is, it will take care of itself. For the people that are in the camp of Indiana needs change, it is obvious. It has been shown. You're seeing the same thing you've seen for 4 years. Then fine. You're going to have to wait until the end of the season, and you're going to have to endure a season that is not exactly fun because they don't make changes after successful seasons. If you're in the camp of, oh no, I think that they need to have the opportunity still, yada, yada, to prove themselves, they've got the rest of the season to do that. They've got all those games in front of them. They have that opportunity. It's in Mike Woodson's hands what this season looks like. He has the talent that he wanted. He has all the players that he handpicked, all the players that he had purchased. And it is without doubt the most expensive roster in the Big Ten. So there will be no excuses. That's why I'm just leaving it alone. I don't have to do or say anything. Boom. It'll either blow up on its own or it will resolve itself on its own. Fair enough. It's no fun, I can tell you that, especially following what Kirk Cignetti has managed to do in his first season at the worst Division I football program in history.
That's going to be epic, by the way, and I'm sure you're having fun, and I'm sure you're all set up to go up to Notre Dame Stadium, and that's going to be an amazing atmosphere. Is it going to snow up there, or what's the weather going to be like?
I think there's a chance, but I don't think that matters. It reminds me of the Purdue game. I mentioned Indiana played Purdue. It was pretty daggone cold, and there was snow on the field, but not enough that it really affect. I don't think they're going to have any type of north or lake effect snow dumping in. That would change the entire narrative of the game, but let's hope not. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Quick question. What about the Todd Golden issues down at Florida? We've got issues everywhere. Issues in Indiana, issues in Florida. Indiana has their own issues. Their Dr. Bomba issues, which that's going on. There's, for people that have their opinions on that, that's fine. But make sure you know the facts, because someone commented earlier that it was just these two guys. It's not. So make sure you know what you're talking about if you're going to comment on that, because that's not correct. And then Todd Golden's got his issues going on. That has to be hard to coach with that hanging over your head.
You know, believe it or not, he's done a pretty good job with it. I think, all things considered, obviously them being 11-0 and the team as well. I mean, I think he addressed it to his team the weekend it came out. Look, it's an investigation right now. There was a thought that it was going to get resolved, last week or this week, but nothing substantive has come out. Usually these Title IX investigations last 79 to 90 days, but sometimes they can extend. I will say that, certainly the accusations are troubling, but they're accusations, and you've got to let the process play out. I mean, we saw what happened in the Duke lacrosse case. You never know how it could work out either way.
There is never going to be something that you lean back on more than that Duke case, because I guarantee you in the beginning, if this had been in Salem back in the day, those guys would have all been burned before the truth came out. And then the truth comes out and it's like, oops. You can't do an oops on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, no question. And like I said, I was privy to some things beforehand and we were investigating it, but there were also some holes, let's put it that way. So we'll see how it all plays out in terms of, the investigation and where it ultimately leads and what ultimately is concluded from it.
Friday night, baby, Indiana football is not only in the college football playoffs, they will play the first game ever in the expanded playoff era. They will play the first Friday football game ever in Notre Dame Stadium. They will play Notre Dame for the first time since 1991. And they have I think at worst, a 50-50 shot of winning this game.
Yeah, no question. And I think too that, listen, Kurt Cignetti, it's been a great story for sure. But Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois at home. I keep on thinking back to that, right? And they've taken care of business against everyone else. But I mean, I'm not impressed with their schedule necessarily. What they've done. Now both the service academies have had good seasons and they beat them. But still, probably from a physicality standpoint, Notre Dame was probably still superior. Let's see what they do against a Big Ten school that obviously is on the rise in Indiana, and a team that you're not going to have to travel very far. You're going to have a lot of motivation. I still think this is very much an underdog story for Indiana from the fact that Notre Dame's history in the state and how basically all the Subway alumni in the state of Indiana, right? They're either Indiana basketball fans or Notre Dame football fans, and you can turn, you have an opportunity to turn and change a lot of perceptions within that state with a big win, and to go on and to play in the college football playoffs and play Georgia and New Orleans. I mean, it's a tremendous opportunity in front of them, and you can't doubt Kurt Cignetti and what he's done in terms of how they play offensively, how they play defensively, and how they play in all three phases, and how they kind of believe in his plan, which has been for the most part successful, other than the one game against Ohio State, where maybe they made a few mistakes early. And you said the crowd noise was a factor. I guess that's been a thing too. And, we'll see if Notre Dame hasn't been known to be as raucous an atmosphere as the Horseshoe, but it'll probably get a little loud up there, and they'll have to deal with that as well.
Yeah, we'll certainly find out, but I am looking very much forward to it, man. It is going to be fun. Wish you could be there, but I'm quite certain you're enjoying. What's the temperature in Gainesville right now?
Well, yeah, now I'm in Tampa. It's in the 70s.
I'm sorry, you're in Tampa.
For the kickoff for the Gasparilla Bowl, it's only going to be 65 degrees. So,
I hope you brought a jacket with you.
But it's interesting because that's the 3:30 game on Friday on ESPN2, so that will be the prelude to the main course, obviously, which is Indiana Notre Dame at 8, which will be certainly what we will all our eyes will be fixed on after the game is over.
Give me a pick. Give me a pick.
Well, I'm on your show, so I'll say Hoosiers 27-24 over Notre Dame. I think it'll be a tight game. Back and forth game, and an exciting game. But I think Indiana will find a way to pull it out. I mean, it's just been a historic, magical run. And I think Rourke is a good enough quarterback where he'll be able, Notre Dame has played really well defensively all season, but I do think that, and it's kind of funny because I saw the former Miami coach, Al Golden, is Broyles Award finalist, right? Defensive coordinator. He's had a really good year, but I think
so is Indiana's defensive coordinator is a back-to-back Broyles Award nominee. Also,
there you go. So
Indiana has the number one defense against the run in the country, so it's going to be a fun matchup to watch, brother. Can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for jumping on with us today. Hope we can get you all a little more frequently. It's always a blast.
Yeah. I think it'll slow down a little bit in January and February, but we're dealing with our transfer portal craziness here. So, but it's good to catch up with you guys.
Good to see you, buddy. K-Bro joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from Tampa at the Gasparillo, Bo. And we'll have to who does Florida play?
They play the Tulane Green Wave.
Ooh, it may be a better matchup than people think, man. Tulane got a good quarterback.
Well, no, he's in the tree. He left though. Mensa.
Well,
he's
too bad for that.
They have a backup, and Florida's got DJ Lagway, who's 5-1 as a starter, and he's an entertaining guy to watch because he throws it deep and he's got a really good arm. And of course, he was a 2023 Gatorade High School Player of the Year, and he's really lived up to his billing. You know, ever since he took over for Graham Mertz, who tore his ACL, this team has really taken a turn in a positive direction. And I think he's the big reason why, even though he's not putting up great number, the team seems to believe in him all phases, and they play better around him.
Well, I believe in you. Appreciate you, brother. Great to have you, as always. Kevin Brockway joining us. And make sure you give K-Bro a follow. He still keeps up with all things that are going on and with the Hoosiers and the Big Ten as well.
I appreciate it, and I will get some cigars for you, and we can pull the Robert De Niro thing in the movie theater.
Thank you, Counselor. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with the man himself, Sir Rick Bozich, right after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revestco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Ball Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fisher. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Ball Road in Bloomington. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie Island, Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information.
How do you balance kind of just focusing on the game ahead, focusing on Notre Dame, but also kind of balancing that with your sixth-year guy and just soaking in the moment for what could potentially be your final college football game?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I really have cherished this year, cherished all my years in college, and just knowing that this could be the last possible college game, it definitely comes to my mind. But also I'm taking that as a positive and motivating that this is one more chance to have a great opportunity to play with the guys and this team that's been so successful, and just really using it to motivate me to even more than I already have to go out there and just have fun, enjoy it, and we'll talk about my last college game in 4 games. So.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday, coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. And I love the fact, Rick Bozich, the captain, joining us with us now. I love the fact that he's going through this presser. He's been asked all these questions, and yet at the end of that question, he had the wherewithal to think and say, "We'll talk about my last game 4 games from now." That just shows me the mentality of this dude, and it's part of why he's been so unflappable and such a great college quarterback this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's Indiana's biggest advantage going into the game. He's shown all year that he can get them in the right plays. He doesn't lose his cool. He spreads the ball to different receivers. He's competitive. He's the complete package at quarterback. I mean, there are guys who are faster. There are guys who can throw the ball harder or deeper. But in terms of doing all the different things you want a quarterback to do, including being the leader, he's the perfect guy for this team.
Absolutely. And he's so unflappable. I mean, he doesn't show a lot of emotion.
No.
In the interviews, it's not like he's negative or lost or not there or not present. He's just tuned in. I think he has like a resting heart rate of like 20. That's what he has that. But there are people like that in sports. I mean, and that's part of how some people are better than others. There are physiological things to it. Lance Armstrong, I think he did have like a resting heart rate of somewhere around 20. So I don't know what his is. He's Canadian. Maybe that helps. Maybe he's used to being frozen. But
I think part of it might be that he's got a tremendous amount of self-confidence because that's what he had to have to make it to where he is. To come up, his journey is atypical. To make it from Canada, I'm sure there were people doubting him when he was coming out of high school, saying, "Yeah, he just did that in Canada." And then he went to Ohio University and followed his brother there, and probably people saying, he's here because of his brother or whatever. And then after he was successful there, I'm sure there's some schools that said, "Yeah, he was a good quarterback, but that was in the MAC." And now he's done it in the Big Ten, and he's had to have a tremendous amount of belief that he can do these kinds of things.
Yeah, he talked about representing Canada and how football is not big there, but having his brother doesn't his brother play in the CFL right now? Or
I believe that's right. Yeah.
So which is kind of ironic, but cool for a couple of Canucks to play American football and be so successful at it. But yeah, he's married, and that show again. You got to be pretty damn mature to be able to be married at his age. And it seems like that's nothing for him. Everything just seems normal for him. He's going to be a success in life no matter what he does. That's something you can just tell.
Sure, you would sure think so. I think he'll get a shot at the NFL. I'm not sure if he might make it. He might not. I don't know. Quarterbacks are hard to predict in the NFL, even if they go in the first round. But he's got a lot of the intangibles you would want in a guy. I could see him having a nice career in the NFL as a backup for a number of years. And if not, I'm sure because of his Canadian roots, he can go play in the CFL, and he'll be remembered at IU for a long, long time. And he finished 9th in the Heisman voting. He would have finished higher if he hadn't missed those games with the injury.
If he hadn't missed the game and the game against Ohio State, he throws for less than 100 yards. I can't remember what the number was. that definitely put a ding on him, but that's okay. I still think that I'm not going to say he will be the more successful quarterback in the NFL, because I think he's just going to be a great backup in the NFL. He's not someone that I see as a starter, but who knows? That could change down the line. We've seen that happen. Speaking of which, Michael Penix Jr. just named as the starter for the Atlanta Falcons. Not something we expected to see this year, because they were wanting to kind of bring him along slowly, but they've apparently reached a point to where, we need something different.
Well, their season's over pretty much, and Kirk Cousins has been a disappointment, and I think you need to find out before you head into the offseason in the NFL draft what you really think of Penix actually, under game conditions before you formulate your team for the following season. Let him get some experience, and there's no reason not to play him. So many other, Caleb Williams has played all year. Jaden Daniels has played all year. Go ahead and put him out there and see what he can do.
Absolutely. This is a fantastic college football playoff opening game for so many reasons. First of all, you have an iconic team in Notre Dame at an iconic place at Notre Dame Stadium. And it's a great story with the upstart little brother, Indiana Hoosiers, coming up. And I think that they have every bit of a chance to win this game as to lose it, because on paper, if all things are equal, I think Indiana's a little bit better. Now, you've got the home field advantage on the other side to maybe equal that out, but I think this team is still pissed off about what they allowed happen to them at Ohio State. I'm pretty certain Curt Cignetti is, because you do not even want to ask a question that has to do with that anymore. You're going to get a short, quick answer, and probably won't even finish your question before he starts to answer. But he doesn't want that. He wants to continue to show, hey, what I say, I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. I think they're going to be ready to go to Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think they should be ready. They're coming off a very impressive win against Purdue. They've had 3 weeks now, 2 weeks to prepare for Notre Dame, and 3 weeks to regroup from the end of the regular season. They're definitely healthy. He said that in the press conferences. They've got all except for the injuries they suffered on the offensive line this year. And they're playing. I'm not saying for fun, but they're playing as a team with very little pressure. The pressure's all on Notre Dame. Everybody expects Notre Dame to win. Their fans expect them to win. If they don't win, their season's going to be a colossal disappointment. And if Indiana loses, there'll be disappointment, but nobody. The average fan, the outsider, doesn't expect Indiana to win the game. They've already had a magnificent season, whereas Notre Dame, there's a lot of frustration at Notre Dame because they really haven't done anything on the national scene for many, many years. The 2 times they have gotten in the previous playoffs, they've gotten blown out, as best I can remember. 1 year by Georgia and 1 year by somebody else. But because they're Notre Dame, everybody expects them to win. And they've got – I bet if you went across both teams, the recruiting services ranked Notre Dame's guys better at 20 of 22 positions maybe?
Oh, at least.
Yeah.
Has to be.
Yeah. So that's just the way it is. So I think that Indiana's in a great position. They've got a team that's capable of winning, but nobody expects them to win.
And you don't think Curt Cignetti will bang that drum at all before the game, do you?
No, he will. I think I believe.
I meant with his team. I meant with his players.
No, with his team, he will some, but I think he's just all about following the game plan and preparing and doing what your team has to do, and that's how you win the game. I'm sure that they've had plenty of time to look at Notre Dame and see games. This is how USC scored 35 points against them with their backup quarterback. This is how Northern Illinois slowed them down. This is how Jeff Brom put 35 points on them. They found whatever weaknesses there are, just as I'm sure Notre Dame's found weaknesses on Indiana. It's just a matter of which team can execute and take advantage of those weaknesses.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt Indiana, if you want to beat them, you have to beat their offensive line. Mm-hmm. And that means either getting to the quarterback or slowing down their running game, because
Correct.
in the Ohio State game, their running game still had success. They had the leading rusher in that game and almost the second leading rusher, but it was not, they did not have any support in the passing game because Ohio State just took that away. Indiana has to have both of those. As a matter of fact, they need the running game the passing game to win at Notre Dame, in my opinion, but you have to have the running game started to really create that. Notre Dame likes to play a lot of man coverage, which Indiana should just look at that and salivate, because if they can get that running game going a little bit, then that will not allow Notre Dame to drop more guys back into the secondary and put those guys on islands.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the two things I'll be looking at from the very beginning will be how well does IU's offensive line hold up in terms of the strength of Notre Dame's defensive front, because we saw them struggle against Michigan. We saw them struggle against Ohio State. And how do they handle crowd noise if it is at the level anywhere close as it was to Ohio State? I know they've been practicing with the loud music and crowd noise at Memorial Stadium, and they're going to change things up, but they can't allow themselves to be thrown off by the blitzes the way they did against Ohio State. And Notre Dame's defense, is really good. They've got pros on the front. They're going to come for Indiana. They're going to come for Kurtis Rourke, and they're going to have to pick that up. The flip side of it's going to be is, can IU handle Notre Dame's power running game? Because Jeremiah Love's really good, and Riley Leonard's one of the best running quarterbacks in the country. I mean, you've got to make Riley Leonard, I think, throw the ball. He's an average passer at best. But I agree with you. They can exploit. I think if they can get the offensive line to hold up, they can exploit the Notre Dame secondary. I mean, I've looked at their secondary is okay. They start 2 freshmen and a sophomore back there. They've got young guys. They've had some significant injuries in the secondary. They've got a safety who's very talented and very experienced in Watts. But at cornerback, they've got a sophomore and a freshman. At the other, at another defensive back position, they've got another freshman. So that's where I look for Indiana to try and make advantage of Notre Dame.
This game is getting it's very exciting, obviously, for obvious reasons. It's a playoff game, which that's never happened. There's going to be a Friday night football game at Notre Dame Stadium played by the Irish. That has never happened. They're hosting a playoff game. That's never, they're hosting the first playoff game in college football, at least Division I. A lot of all these firsts, and there's a lot of excitement, and all the eyes and ears are going to be on this game because it's the only game. And I'm wondering, how far is the excitement? Is the excitement reached Louisville area? Is there any much of a buzz at all for this game down there? Because I know there's so much other stuff going on.
There's in Southern Indiana where there are a lot of IU people. I'd say in the city of Louisville, it's probably not a good question to ask because the NCAA volleyball Final Four is here this week, and Louisville's in it. They're playing for the national championship. They play against Pitt, who's one of their biggest rivals, on Thursday night, and then if they win, they play again on Sunday. So, there's some. I think people that are college football fans for sure want to see it, and it's more of a curiosity level of is Indiana really this good? And I've heard from people this is the game that'll be the end. We'll have to quit talking about Indiana after this week and all that stuff because. They're Kentucky fans aren't big followers of IU football, and they're SEC people, so they're skeptical in terms of how good Indiana is. But I was listening to something the other day. I think the viewership for the Ohio State game was 10 million. This will be even bigger than that. It'll be the most watched IU football. I don't know what the numbers were back in January 1st, 1968, when they played O.J. Simpson in the Rose Bowl. I'm sure it was huge for its time, but
because there was only 3 channels back then.
Yeah, this is going to be massive. It's going to be the most I watched IU football game ever. So it's got great. There's just great benefit. This whole football season has had tremendous benefit, not just for IU football, just for Indiana University in general, in terms of drawing attention to the school and. The drone shots at some of those games leading into the coverage and those kinds of things. It's been great, and it's
because
I hear
it
from a
used
lot
to
of
be embarrassing.
Yeah, I know IU fans from really all different age groups. I have a couple of friends of mine who were in school when they went to the Rose Bowl. They're a few years older than me, and I know people who've been out of school in the last few years, and it's a great unifier. There's 5 or 6 IU people at work at WDRB that they're, men and women from different generations, and everybody's talking about it. So yeah, it's a big deal.
A station from South Bend was down yesterday for the media availability, and they brought 3 people down. Their sports director, a girl, I think one of the news guys, and then their meteorologist, which was a female IU graduate. So it was, it's funny how it just winning this game with all of that you just said, all the attention that we know will be on this game, and all the Indiana's already gained a ton, but winning this game it will not surpass all that, but boy, will it really legitimize all of it and put a cherry on top. I don't want to say on top of the season because they won't be done, but that will sure add a gigantic piece to Indiana, to Curt Cignetti, legitimate stamp for what they've done.
And no question, it'll absolutely legitimize it, and then it will take it to the next strata, because now you're going against, Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, which is SEC territory, SEC turf, against the guy commonly known as the best coach in college football, who's won 2 of the last 3 national championships and was favored to win this one before the season. And you're playing them, down in New Orleans on a New Year's Day. I mean, that's a huge next step forward in terms of what Indiana's trying to accomplish with its football program. And I think once you get to the Sugar Bowl, it won't be like it is this weekend. Your fans get half the tickets. Now Georgia will have more because it's SEC territory and they can get there easier and stuff. But IU would have a much bigger contingent than they're going to have at Notre Dame. And I'm not really sure yet. I've heard all these stories about IU fans buying up the tickets on the secondary market. Whether I only got 4,000 or 3,500 tickets at the school, but I'm sure there's going to be 8,000 to 10,000 IU fans in the building on Friday.
They'll definitely get more in. The prices will go down, and I'm sure it'll be interesting. One thing I did find ironic, I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. Indiana has gotten into the
flags,
the towels, copied from Terrible Towels this season, which was pretty cool. Guess who is doing that at the game this Friday night? Notre Dame decided they needed a towel.
Really?
So, and I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, wow. It's just weird that they're going to do, because I've not seen that done by any other school this entire season. And now, since Indiana's been doing it, Notre Dame wants to adopt it for this game.
They're wearing black uniforms too. That's really weird to me. That's like, I mean, their uniforms, the blue ones and the green ones are iconic.
Yes.
Why? They're like the most 2 or 3 well-known uniforms in all of college football. Why are you going to wear black uniforms?
I just have this feeling that Notre Dame they don't feel as confident in this. And I'm probably just grasping at whatever, but there's just they're just doing a lot of stuff. Maybe they're just trying to take advantage of the eyes. Maybe, and that's all, and that's that simple. And
sell Christmas product, get people to get your black Notre Dame t-shirt for Christmas. I don't know what it is. It's probably driven by Under Armour, if I had to guess, because they're Under Armour's #1 football school for sure. But it's going to be. I know that. Isn't Indiana going to have towels for the fans up there? I don't know how they're going to pass them out, but they're going to pass out an IU towels.
You can pass them out. You can go pick them up right now at Assembly Hall, I believe. I saw that, amongst other things. So, but we'll see.
And Home Field Sports is putting on some big event that's already sold out Friday, some tailgate or IU rally. I got an email from them where they're going to they've already got like 3 or 4 events up there, but the one in the tailgating area before the game sold out. So it's going to be a huge IU crowd.
It's going to be fun. It is going to be fun. We've got to take a break. We've got Sir Rick Bozich with us right now from WDRB.com. We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after we hear from Kurtis Rourke and these messages.
How do you balance kind of just focusing on the game ahead, focusing on Notre Dame, but also kind of balancing that with your sixth-year guy and just soaking in the moment for what could potentially be your final college football game?
Yeah, I mean that's your question. I really have cherished this year, cherished all my years in college, and just knowing that this could be the last possible college game. It definitely comes to my mind, but also I'm taking that as a positive and motivating that this is one more chance to have a great opportunity to play with the guys and this team that's been so successful, and just really using it to motivate me to even more than I already have to go out there and just have fun, enjoy it, we'll talk about my last college game in 4 games. So.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. When it comes to apparel and promotions, FreeThink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order. Hungry for something a little different? Well, head to the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm with a Cajun flair, like their loaded voodoo fries, gator bites, or jambalaya, and so much more. The Rusty Gator also has live music each Friday and Saturday night with some of the best local and regional artists around. Visit the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford and get your Cajun on. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. I hope you're staying dry and warm. Sir Rick Bozich from WDRB.com with us. Rick, are you going up to the game?
Yes, sir. Eric Crawford and I will be up there. We'll see you there. What's
all
the weather
right, Eric doing the driving, I'm sure, right?
We'll split the driving. I'm sure Eric and I split the driving. We're long time.
I thought you always made him drive.
No. He goes faster than me. When we're in a hurry, we give it to him, but no, we'll split the driving.
I hear that, man. Yeah, it's funny the things that I remember back in the day that you could get away with if you were in a station marked vehicle. It's like you're a cop or something all of a sudden. It's like, yep, come on through. But yeah.
What's the weather forecast? I haven't looked recently.
Getting a little colder, but not we're not talking Green Bay frozen tundra stuff here. I think we're talking maybe a little colder than Purdue, but not much. I think it's going to be kind of similar. There's a chance of snow, but by that, I don't mean that they mean a chance of snow like we had for the Purdue game, which was a dusting, or are we talking about some of that real snow that happens to come off of that lake that they reside close by? That stuff will stick. But either way, someone mentioned it earlier as well, Indiana's got a quarterback that's from Canada, eh? He's kind of used to it.
Yeah. I don't think the weather will be a detriment to either team. I actually talked to a former IU football player yesterday who said he thinks if the conditions are, 20s, mid-teens wind chill, 14% chance of snow. He said that if the field gets a little chewed up, he thought it would play in Indiana's favor because it helps your receivers take advantage of defensive backs because they know which way they're cutting and stuff, and the defensive backs don't. And he thought it would play into Indiana's hands, so I'll go with what he says.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Indiana showed that they no problem when they played Purdue because they put up 66 points in similar conditions. So I think with everyone being healthy, I don't think the weather is going to really play unless it changes in some dramatic fashion. I don't think the weather is going to play a factor.
I wouldn't think so. The super windy might. And I've read some reports they're expecting some 30-mile-an-hour gusts, but no, I don't think the weather will be a big factor. It's going to come down to whether Indiana can block them and whether they can stop the run. Those are the two things that I think will decide the game. And not, I hate to go back to this, but they really can't stop themselves and hurt themselves with the special teams misplays they had against Ohio State. Those were just crushing. I went back. I had forgotten that. I knew it was late in the second half. I didn't realize it was that late in the second half. It was in the final 2 minutes, and they were getting ready to punt one at the 23, and they ended up giving them the ball on the 7 or 8 yard line with a minute and a half or whatever it was to go. I mean, that's as bad as it gets. You not only lose possession of the ball, but it's right there inside the red zone, inside the 10-yard line. Can't have that. And then they also screwed up the punt where punted it the wrong way. And even though they did punt it the wrong way, it was like a punt that bounced on the ground several times. There were plenty of defensive guys down there that could have, made the tackle or slowed him down so somebody else could have made the tackle, and they all just whiffed on the play. So giving them 14 points like that, they can't afford to do that against Notre Dame. And Notre Dame, I believe, leads the country in blocked kicks this year.
They've got 3. They blocked 3 punts. I know that. And they also are very good at forcing turnovers, forcing fumbles.
So, their defense is really good, man. It really is good. I wouldn't downplay that at all.
They make up for, like, they have a good defensive line. I don't think it's great while they have a great player coming back, but they make any, I don't even want to use the word deficiency, but any void or whatever, they make up for it in another area where it's forcing those fumbles or blocking punts or things like that. So they're obviously very well coached. I just think this is going to be a fantastic game. I really do. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think anybody's getting blown out here either way. If Indiana wins, I think it's going to be a tight game. If Notre Dame wins, I think it's going to be a tight game. Indiana's defense is too good. They're proven as well. They're not they're not in question. They have the number 1 run defense in the damn country, and they played it. That's playing against Michigan. That's playing against Ohio State. So they're solid. I think this is going to be a fantastic game.
I mean, the flip side of it is on their defense is that, as I said, USC put 35 on them, threw for 360 yards and 3 touchdowns with a backup quarterback who took over the last 3 games at Southern Cal. Louisville put 24 up on them. They threw for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns. Those are the only 2 teams that have really Georgia Tech did throw for 269 yards, but everybody else they pretty much shut down. So Indiana passing game has been good all year long, except for the Ohio State game. Rourke's he's had 3 or more weeks to have the thumb even closer to 100%. But Sarat and Omar Cooper and Williams and a bunch of these dudes need to step up and play well in this game. That's to me, that's their ticket. The running game just has to be solid. The passing game, they got to get some big plays out of them to hurt Notre Dame if they're going to win the game.
Yes, because if they just in any way open up that secondary with some successful passes, then that'll force Notre Dame's defense to kind of migrate backwards into the secondary a little more, opening up more of an opportunity for the run game, and Indiana can be successful in the run game as well. Daggone Justice Ellison, that dude's a little fire plug. I'm looking at him at the presser last night, not very tall, but I don't think I want to get hit by him. He reminds me of Scattaboo and Genty. Those guys are not tall, but boy, they're like little compact pistons. They will punch you into next week.
He's a very good player, and he's a very experienced player. That's another thing about IU's backs. They're both experienced dudes. Aren't they both fifth-year guys? At least fourth or fifth-year guys who have been through it all, seen it all before, and that's give them room to run, and they'll produce. Again, we go back to the offensive line. Howard, Lynch and Kadick and Wedig and the two other, I can't remember the two other names, but how are they going to step up and move forward?
Yeah, and a lot of people ask me, well, what do you think about the game? What do you think is going to happen? I'm like, well, I mean, I don't think anyone can actually predict the outcome of this game, and I think that Indiana has as good a chance of winning a big game as they have had all season. I think on paper, I give Indiana a slight advantage. It's at Notre Dame. I don't know if that erases that or not, but I don't see Indiana as a true underdog in this game. I think they're as good as Notre Dame and possibly better. I think the defense across the board might be a little bit better. The offense, I think as a whole, is better. I think with their running game on top of the passing game, it's better than Notre Dame's running game with their passing game.
Yeah, I mean, each team has a couple advantages here and there. It's going to come down mistakes, as it always does. You can't make really bad turnovers. You can't have really stupid penalties. You got to play a clean game. If you give yourself, you put yourself in a situation where you're giving away possessions or you're constantly playing in long down situations, you're going to struggle. But I think Indiana's big edge is at quarterback. Riley Leonard is a good runner. I don't think he's a very good passer, and I'll be interested to see what Brian Haynes does to sort of put game pressure on Riley Leonard.
I think he's really looking forward to this game. I really do. I think he is. Yes, yeah. I think he is really. I mean, he was at the presser 2 days ago, and boy, he just has energy. Just natural. I'm not talking about Tom Allen energy, but you could tell this dude's. He's got energy. He's. I love everything about Brian, what he does, man.
No, he's obviously a very good coach. So we'll see what kind of game plan he's had. Again, both teams have had 2 weeks to cook up their game plans for this game. So Notre Dame's defensive coordinator is really good too. Al Golden. As I heard Kevin Brockway mention, he's a former head coach at Temple and the Miami Hurricanes, and he coached in the NFL. He's also good. So, this is what you expect. And when you get in the playoffs, you expect you're not going to get a ragtag operation on the other side.
I think if Indiana wins this game, then Brian Haynes will win the Broyles Award. Well, we'll see.
He might.
Looking forward to seeing you up there, man. When are you heading up on Friday?
Yeah, we're leaving Friday morning. How about you?
I will be heading up Thursday to get up there early enough to do the show.
Where are you staying up there? Where did you find a place?
I am staying with a friend, luckily.
Oh, good for you.
Yes, that worked out perfectly. So looking forward to that. Hopefully you're going to get together with Sean McDonough. Sean is going to be on with us on Friday. He's doing the game for ABC. I worked with him. I met Sean back in ironically 91 when Indiana last played Notre Dame, but in Louisville at an NCAA tournament site. I was working for CBS. So that's back when Splash was still around.
Oh
downtown.
My gosh. Uh-oh. Sean McDonough, Greg McElroy, and then there's two sideline reporters, including our own Katie George.
Oh, wow. Damn it. I'm going to try to get Katie on tomorrow then. That's very cool. I'm glad you told me that. Rick Bozich, the captain. Appreciate you, brother. Look forward to seeing you Friday.
You going to be up in the press box?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll see
Too
you on
cold
Friday.
to be anywhere else.
Eric's going to be down in the field taking pictures for a while, so I didn't know if you'd be down there doing that too. All right. We'll see you up there, man.
Absolutely. Appreciate you.
Drive
Rick Bozich
safely.
joining us from WDRB.com. That's going to wrap it up for us today, man. We're so fired up and ready to go. We've got 2 more days. Actually, 1 more day until we get to game day, but looking forward to it. We'll be in South Bend on Friday, game day. And big thanks to Dylan Sinn, K-Bro, Kevin Brockway, and of course, Rick Bozich. Most importantly, thanks to each and every one of you. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. We're back tomorrow to do it again, though. Looking forward to it. I'll try to get Katie George on. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.